Welcome, everyone, to Life of Giants. My name is Kyle Petrilla, and with me, as always, is Dino the Genetic Marvel. Man, Dino, you look gorgeous today. The fact that you completely ignored me makes it even better, sir.
Well,
whether you like it or not.
Or you feel at home.
God, Kyle. Yeah. How? Yeah, I feel like you're having a great day. It's your recap of your workday was spectacular. Let's be honest. It's
yeah, it's great. I love it. It's the thing. You know what really makes it rewarding? The paycheck.
There you go.
It's a $0 paycheck. It's fantastic.
Let's be honest, though. Technically, there's a level of compensation.
Yeah, it doesn't. Trust me, it's not fucking worth it.
I mean, it can only get better, my friend.
I do like emojis here.
I mean, I did use some emojis and everything, so I did a winky face.
Thank God we had a long conversation about how hard it was, and then you did it in 8 seconds.
Exactly. Well, I like to keep expectations extremely low, which give us an opportunity to talk about our subject, which is imposter syndrome. Which, let's be honest, like I feel like both of us have done really cool things. You more notably, because obviously you attract more attention than I do, but we both had our excellent outcomes for things that people are like, wow, how did you even do that? And you're like, I don't even know. But at the same time, we both have a hard time giving ourselves credit for that kind of stuff, which is hilarious when you think about it. But I don't know. I feel like there are times when you and I could just stand in a crowd and that will be more than enough story for everyone else. Whereas for us, we're just standing there wondering where the hell we were. Which, it feels like it's a thing.
Sometimes I do walk by people and then, like just their reaction is enough, because most of the time I'm just like a much faster walker than, well, everybody. And they're in my goddamn way. So I cut, but I get close. And but it's like a skyscraper is cutting by you. So,
basically, I remember going to the CNE years ago, and they had those guys on stilts that walk around, and that's basically the same thing when you're walking beside Kyle. And I'm 6'3", so it's still. And I always I have
6'3".
Yeah, I have to remind him that I'm like, hey man, it's not a race. Just calm down. But then now my wife gets mad at me because I walk faster because I'm not as fat as I used to be. So, I mean, it's a weird life we both live, sir.
That song doesn't come on anymore.
I mean, in my head, it's always there. I always think about that kind of stuff. But hey, what are you gonna do? I don't know. I feel free to everyone to comment. We appreciate you watching, but please feel free to like and subscribe and share this or take a thing. You trained me to walk slower. Now I'm used to it. Okay. Well, now you got to train to work faster, Victoria. That's it. Those are the rules. Victoria did her first almost 2-day fast. We ended today, which I was really proud of her for.
So, okay. What is almost 2 days? Is that 36 hours? We had
38. We went to 38, and then just out of convenience, because it was at 6 p.m. Saturday, and then yesterday we had nothing, and then today we went out to eat, or we had some eggs at around like 12:30. So, it was a little bit short, but I was like, that's fine.
That's okay. Victoria's a little short, so it's okay.
Exactly, and that was the thing is, and the only thing is, we did overeat afterward, which I was like,
that's
not a fan of that.
Solution.
No, but it was good, clean food, so I'm not too worried about it. But I was like, listen, it's really important that we exercise daily and all that kind of stuff. So I think I might go for a walk soon. And I felt very unmotivated in the afternoon. But like that's one of those things, right? Like I find that when I'm can really, really get focused, it's great. But how many steps are you at? 3,000?
12,000.
Oh, 12,000. Well, okay. Well, then I'm going to have to show you mine, Kyle, because it's only fair that we make sure that we're both idiots. It's
Congratulations, Victoria, on your fast.
fast. Okay. It's okay, everybody. Don't worry. Mine is at a whopping 975. Yeah.
It's close. You know,
I barely move. I barely move.
We're almost the same there. So
Yeah. I mean, we're only separated by a few numbers.
yeah, just 2 digits.
Yeah, the thousands and the tens of thousands. Yeah.
It's no. I woke up, felt like shit, didn't want to do anything, so I forced myself to go and walk.
Yeah.
And I had a whole bunch of work I did before that too. Anyways, but yeah, so I felt better about it. It was very interesting. I always walk to the beach.
Yeah.
Because it gets me a lot of steps. Plus, I like this specific spot. I have a spot, and then it was very weird because everybody's gone. It was like a ghost town now, and just like 2 days ago, shit ton. Okay, that be it fair. It was the weekend. However, if it was 4 days, 5, if it was like the Thursday, tons of people.
Yeah. But now it's officially everyone is back to doing shit. Nobody's off anymore, right? Which is good.
I don't know why they called for a heat wave. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't understand that either, right? So it's apparently yesterday we had snow in Toronto, which is wild. But now they're saying there might be a heat wave or something that you said.
It's not okay, in the forecast, like my forecast for my local area, it's like the top is like 25. But
same with mine.
The only thing I've gotten for this heat wave is people I know telling me there's going to be a heat wave. And one is my very, very close neighbor. So I don't know where she got her info. And the other is a girl I know that lives in Niagara Falls area. So maybe there could be different weather down there. I don't know what her forecast is, but it doesn't make sense to me.
You're closer to the water, so you and I might have different weather, but
yeah,
I'm looking at my 7-day forecast, and the highest it goes to is 25, which is Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
So, the low tomorrow is 13. You're like, that's cold, man. That's not,
last night. Yes, last night I turned the heat on, because I don't heat for just me. So I had to turn the heat on, and then I turned it off this morning. But it's because I didn't want complaints, but it was weird. I'm like, this is very early, and it is. It's not usually when I would turn the heat, but it was cold enough that I'm sitting in my apartment, and I'm like, this is getting cold, and
and your apartment is normally hot, right? So
my apartment is usually Bombay, and I'm not. It's when the heat is on, it's on. When it's off,
I'm just gonna let you keep on talking on that one there, buddy. Just go for it.
No, it's just it gets up to 80 and shit. And I open windows in the I can't control my heat because zone valves and whatnot are broken, but it's a really big thing to fix, and the problem it causes is, I guess, whatever. I walk around with very little clothing on, and I have nobody here to complain. So whatever.
Honestly, I think it'd be hilarious if somebody did complain, be like, "Hey, why aren't you wearing more clothes in your own apartment?" Is ridiculous. That is not a normal.
I do have big windows.
They don't have to look in your. Hey, why are they looking in your house?
Well, they have to. I lost some curtains today. Anyways. Yeah, I had to strip for parts. Anyways, without telling more about my life. Yeah.
He's making himself a moo-moo. That's what it is. Robes adorning his body. That's what
so far, just a moo.
Yeah. Not appropriate.
First time I threw a joke in the life of giants. All right.
The so okay, here's some like a wizard. That's exact. I mean, Kyle definitely would fit in as a wizard. That's for sure. There's no question there. I also too. I like the idea of us going like because realistically, fashion has gone completely insane in general. So the idea that we could maybe on the cusp of being able to dress like wizards and Romans with togas and shit, I'm all for. It does look a little homeless, but I'm okay with it.
I kind of feel like the first we're not talking Victoria, we're not talking runways, we're talking like everyday folk.
Yep.
I feel like our fashion at the moment is like one we will look back and not like regret. Like it's not like the 80s extreme neon and the teased hair and all that stuff, you know what I mean? And then there's like grunge, you were kind of dirty, but like that was kind of still like okay. But like, it's kind of like jeans and t-shirt nowadays, and women wear like summer dresses and stuff, and like, well, if you hope. Yeah. And like I don't think there's nothing like overtly embarrassing to look back at this time is all I'm considering.
So my only thing is that I've noticed this year was that from like June until August, people were just walking around in their underwear, basically. And that's the only thing that I'm like, let's be honest, is after the pandemic, aside from myself and Kyle has wasted away, a lot of people have gotten way fatter than they used to be, and they can't walk around in the underwear without drawing some attention. So that's on them. Because I never, absolutely never. And I'll tell you, if I have abs, I will walk around in my underwear. That is a guarantee, just for everyone to know. But Kyle's almost at that point, just so everyone knows. Yeah.
I could be.
Yeah.
I have something. Anyways, I don't know. There's something that happened with that I'm not sure I want to share even privately with you. Anyways, so when was the first time, or when did imposter syndrome hit you? Either first time, second, I don't know, one significant time.
I mean, like, I would have to say there were times in school. I remember one specific time when I showed up a teacher like aggressively, and he was in awe to the point where I saw him on a flight to Greece, and I was like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going to Greece," and I'm like, "Yeah, this is my wife. I'm going to Greece, to my house in Greece." And he was like, "I'm a tourist." I'm like, "Good luck with that." It was very nice, but he remembered me and then regretted ever seeing me again. It was nice. But it was
that's pretty much you just living the dream.
I mean, yeah. So because I showed him up in his own calculus class, and everyone was like, the fuck. I'm like, yeah, I'm not stupid. I just hate this class. That's not.
So that was high school?
That was high school. Because I tried to, like, let's be honest, I had the image. I took a lot of advanced courses and just passed. Like, that was you couldn't convince me to do more work than just pass, because I was like, this isn't for smart. Like, you're not teaching me any, like, you're not smart. I have mixed feelings on if I regret that or not, but people just assumed that I was stupid. And then I would show them how smart I was. I'm like, yeah, I'm smarter than you. I just don't have to fight about it. Right.
I took a lot of general courses and didn't pass. Anyways, go on.
Yeah,
it's more of a laissez-faire approach to school. But
I remember once I failed all 4 of my courses, and they tried to expel me, and then my dad just called the superintendent and was like, "Yeah, no, has he ever failed that many courses before and been expelled?" They're like, "No." He's like, "Yeah, they can't expel him. Just go back. That's fine." So my dad just took me back. He's like, "Yeah, what are you guys talking about?" And they're like, "Well, we'll discuss it." He's like, "All right, I'll expect a phone call later today." And sure enough, they did. And the next day I was in class. It was great. But yeah, I failed all 4 courses, which my marks were a 23, a 24, no, a 24, 25, and 26. And then I got a 49 in another course, which I was like, that's because the teacher was a bitch. And she knew that I hated her and that she had zero authority over me because I was like, yeah, you gave the highest mark to a girl who could only regurgitate what was in the book. She couldn't think on it. And we would have debates in the class and I would dominate. But then she's like, you have to hand in a paper. And I'm like, get fucked. I'm not doing that. Because I'm like, no, I know exactly what I'm like. It's economics. It's not, it's very simple. It's supply and demand. If you can't understand supply and demand, get the fuck out of the class. You're an idiot. And she tried to make it harder than it was. I'm like, you don't have to make it that complex. You're just confusing people. That was my problem in school. Was I would always I would not work for shit, but then I would get angry because teachers would be teaching wrong, and I'm like, why are you making this so hard on people? And they're like, what? You don't even know what we're talking about. I'm like, oh my God. I would walk up to the thing and just start writing on the thing. I'm like, you can barely read my writing, but clearly it's better than this fucker. And they would get really mad at me. And that was like, and then people were like, hey, so you're not stupid. I'm like, no. Why? And that was kind of like the downfall of, then people just didn't know what to expect. And I was like, oh, this is weird.
See,
Like,
yeah, like I wasn't really challenged or disciplined or gave a shit.
yeah.
I kind of did whatever I wanted and then failed stuff. Like I got a 70 in a class that I missed 30 days of. And they're after 30 days, they're like, you wouldn't have been there enough to have passed. And I got a 70. So like what I got perfect on the exam too. But it's just like it's
who's teaching who? Like what? So okay, Victoria, you just need to play the game. Number one, I'm not good at that. Let's just start there. They request you to turn in homework, so turn in some homework and walk off. No, they have. This is the problem: is school makes no sense. Anyways,
why do I need to go home and do work? Like we didn't do anything in fucking class either.
What?
Like
You don't like. Listen, the whole idea of homework is insane because that means that number one, you've overburdened. What you're doing is you're getting people accommodated to the idea of being overburdened on a daily basis, zero compensation, and zero regard for their mental health. That is a failure on a grand scheme of things. I think education should be suffering from imposter syndrome because they ain't teaching people fuck all. Bunch of assholes. I think that's the clip. That's what we should do. No, but like really, but come on, like okay, let's be honest. You got a 70 in a class, you skip 3 days, which is heinous. Okay, then score perfect on the exam. Then what's okay? So that all that means is the school failed in actually making education worthwhile for you. That's how I see that.
Well, they did.
Yeah. That's why I was an awesome student. I turned in work, copied the next week's homework, and walked away from class free period. I mean, yeah,
I had more free periods than you, lady.
Yeah.
I took them all.
You just left though. That's not the same. Yeah.
Dude, the best part was I was in high school and my house was like a 5-minute walk. So if I ever really needed to use the washroom, I'd walk home and come back. And the teacher didn't even question it because there's people who'd go to the washroom in the school and take longer to get back.
100%. Now having been to your house, I'm like, oh yeah, I would totally walk home. I knew a couple guys that lived across the street that would do the same thing, which I'm like, and the principal never said shit, but she would watch them and she hated it, but she would never say shit. A VP made it her fucking whole thing to be like, you can't do that. And they're like, why? Because it creates a security risk. It creates this really? Okay, let's call my parents. And they're like, well, we don't need to. No. Let's call my parents. Hey, mom, like he just yelled across the street. Mom, the VP wants, bro, mom, dad, grandma came out. That lady, it ruined her fucking day. Just, you're like, yeah, you're a fucking, look, people need to realize that school is not education. School is government mandated fucking babysitting.
It's the first prison.
Yeah, just to try and break you. That's all it is. And anyone who doesn't get that, yeah, then you read a book.
Dude, I was just watching what's his name? Billionaire guy who he just rents his fucking house. Anyways, But he has his daughter, and he hangs out with his daughter, and he teaches her real life things. Of course, he's a billionaire, whatever.
Sure.
But she does homeschooling, and they have the book and the shit, and he gives her the book, and she finishes her entire year's school in like, I think it was like 5 months or whatever, but at her leisure with like an hour a day, because that's how much time it actually takes to do this fucking work. Like, it's so bullshit. And all the work, it's like meaningless anyways. The only thing that she's learning is everything her dad teaches her. So like, she's on the payroll. She's fine. So it's like, it's just minutia mandated by the government. Like, it's they're just trying to create slaves, and the rich know how to create not slaves. And
well, that's the one thing that my dad was always keen on, was always just stop and think for yourself. You don't have to, like, I think the one thing that my dad was really happy about was there was a couple times when he saw somebody try and make me do something, and I would stop and I go, no. And they're like, oh yeah? And I go, yeah. And I would take a step forward and everyone would go, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm not, and I'm going to make sure that you understand that that's not how things are going to go. And I feel like he had a bit of pride for that, and he would jump in and be like, hey, don't fucking kill people. And I'm like, I didn't touch anyone, okay? Like, but like, there were a few times where people were like, oh yeah? And I'm like, oh yeah, let's fucking go. And they were just like, oh, I did not realize how big you were. I'm like, no, you didn't. So let's just fucking not do that. But that was like, because people will be bullies as much as they're permitted to. That's just the science, right? That has nothing to do with anyone. But the fact is, power corrupts, and ultimate power corrupts ultimately. It's not. All right. But what about you, Kyle? When was the first time you felt like an imposter? And you can't use an acting thing. You can't, because it's not fair.
Why can't I use an acting?
Because you are an imposter. That's acting.
No, but like, no.
Yeah.
Honestly, well, I have a few I can. One definitely was when I was like, I was a CrossFit coach, and for many years, and trying to sell like personal training for $80 an hour is like, you have to like know you're worth it. And honestly, I'm worth like $120 an hour now. But like, still, like, it was very difficult to sell, and it's harder to sell when you don't necessarily believe it.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's expensive, but like, I have a lot to deal. Like, I don't know. It's just.
Hey, I'll be honest with you, Kyle. I have never collected a paycheck that I have not felt like, are you for real? You're giving me this money? All right, it's fine. Like, it's contractual, you have to, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't think I earned this at all. Like,
oh, I've definitely had paychecks where I'm just like, well,
hi, Angie.
I'm just like, this is not enough.
How's it going, Angie? Yeah, Angie, we're talking about imposter syndrome and how actively we feel it on almost daily basis. But yeah, it's one of those things. Aw, Angie, you're awesome.
Yeah, why didn't I even forgot we're gonna plug. I am in the contest for Face of Horror, and I am unless Angie says otherwise. Last I knew, I was in first. But that doesn't mean we stop voting, because I need all the votes. They accumulate up until like November, and then it gets reset for the final showdown. But that's a long way away.
Just so you guys know, currently first in the clairvoyant round, which means we already knew he was going to be first. But here it is. There are 3 days, 4 hours, 34 minutes, and 33 seconds and counting for Kyle to win. And let's be honest, with that face, I think there's no way you can't win.
I was thinking about, well, I've showed you another one that was a pretty decent picture of a different competitor. So I'm not alone. And I was thinking about changing up the picture, because I have many. I would also like to just throw this out quick for if anybody's actually watching. You can vote once every 24 hours. You can also pay for votes. All right, so it starts at 10 for $10. They're $1 a vote. I wouldn't expect anybody to do this. However, it does go to a children's charity,
and is tax deductible.
and it's tax deductible. So that's the point. So it's for a good cause and tax deductible. So it's so I believe so it's worth it, and I appreciate it as well. But by no means you need to do that. But it's just it's an option, and the fact that it is tax deductible makes me that like I believe in it more.
100%. Yeah,
it's not like Walmart where they take it. Like you actually get the tax deduction.
I think this is an important thing that a lot of the times, and this is one of the things, is that we as human beings, we gain some of the most satisfaction in our worlds when we give of our own free will. When we try to benefit others by our actions, we get the most benefit. And it's a very psychological thing. But a lot of the times people will try and manipulate with that. So when you go to the liquor store, Walmart, Home Depot, and they say, would you like to give $2 to any foundation? The answer consistently is not only no, but get fucked. And I'll tell you why. Is because, number one, they are taking your money for zero. They're just going, here, just give me your money. And then they're getting the tax benefit. Not okay. And I've said that to people to their face. I'm like, oh, do I get a tax deduction for that? They're like, no. And I'm like, oh, then I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And they go, why? It's not my problem.
You already have, everybody's like still pissed off at corporations for not paying their share of taxes. And this is how they're getting out of it too. They're taking your donations, which, okay, you even if you do it $2 every time, if a bunch of people, that's hundreds of $1,000s from Walmart a year that goes to their pockets and they get the deduction. So let's not do that. If you want count every time you go to the register and then write that down, and then at the end of the year, throw $100 or whatever, $2 each time to whatever charity you choose and get the tax deduction if you so.
Hey, and not just that, there are charities, and then there are charities. There are certain charities that end up giving pennies per dollar donated to that cause. Don't donate that. There are others that are fully supported by volunteer work, and 100% or close to is going to the appropriate cause. Those are charities that we can support. And listen, and I'm not saying people don't deserve to be compensated. That's not what I'm saying. But when you have a CEO of a charitable organization, okay, making hundreds of thousands of dollars on top of their job, like they have another job that they make hundreds of thousands, if not millions, but this is their extra good duty, get fucked immediately. Okay,
that's imposter shit. They're imposing as if.
Well, this is the thing too, Kyle, is that how many times have we heard about the fact that it is scientifically proven that who the CEO is of your company has absolute zero effect on how your company performs. Yeah. That's not a thing. That's not a realistic thing. And CEOs are one of the only jobs that are 100% completely replaceable to a degree of significant efficiency by AI. Workers are not. Middle management, which is completely useless, not replaceable by AI. Okay? Nurses are not replaceable by AI. Construction workers are not replaceable by AI. Plumbers, not replaceable by AI. Okay? CEOs, every single CEO in the entire planet Earth can be replaced by an AI and will be outperformed by said computer program. Who's the imposter now, fuckheads? I feel like I was a little aggressive, Kyle. I'm not sure.
You're not aggressive, but it's about time it's your turn.
Are you of the opinion that you're the aggressive one out of the two of us? I mean, that's probably fair.
On this show, I get plenty aggressive when people bring up the topics that are now, as far as I'm concerned, banned from this show.
That's probably true. I just thought about Calculon. I mean, I could definitely pass as Calculon. That's fair.
I get right up aggressive, and then I also try to like skirt around my just saying it like it is.
Yeah, aren't we all? I feel like that's why we're being punished. You know?
Yeah. So another imposter syndrome time was in acting,
Yeah.
but you're like, I don't know. But no, when I got my first commercial,
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
and then we were like filming it, and I know that I have like a, a strong paycheck, but I'm just like coming my way. I'm just like, really? This is I'm like, you're gonna pay me this much for me to do this, and I'm like, you guys didn't look at my resume, did you?
Yeah, like that. I definitely felt that way after the background work that we had done. Where I was just like, really? Huh. All right, cool. Like it was such a mind-blowing experience that I was like, I don't think I did enough to warrant this. Guy's like, well, still. I'm like, I get it. It's a weird thing, but I feel like that's one of the things. I feel like that is me mostly just people who are involved in art too, right? Like it's hard not to believe the hype and then like to keep your wits about you, but then also too like you have to believe a little bit, right? Like there's a reason you're being hyped.
Well, like you really have to like. It's always hard to like charge what you're worth, right? Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
And then because people, you have to believe people will pay it, and yeah. So I felt. So I did just finish a commercial on this past week.
Yeah.
Another one, and I felt a lot more comfortable doing it, and it was also nice that I got to act more in a sense. The other one was like improv, and because of that, and then also it was my first one. Like it's like I would have liked to have prepared, and I was given no option to prepare. And then on top of that, I was hired specifically for my like deadpan abilities and stuff. I went into my commercial, first ever
Yeah.
like legit um audition for and got and being paid for acting role, and I didn't have I didn't have a role
Yeah.
until like the day. Like it's like I was like I'm just like, wow, this is, and I bet you there are people who have worked many years and gotten many things and not experienced that. And that was my first one. So it was very by the way, it just got re-upped. So you can still watch it on YouTube and I guess in the States. And the funny thing is my new commercial also in the States. I will never stumble upon my work apparently because I do not live in the country it please.
Damn. Do you get a copy of it or no?
Well, it's on. Well, the other one was on YouTube, and this one will probably also be on YouTube. Like everything kind of ends up there, and
Yeah.
but they didn't. I found out from other actors. Nobody like sent it to me. Like the actors that I worked with sent it to me. So I don't. I guess they were watching the like. I don't know. They were looking around for it, and obviously I would want to too, but I was too dumb to even know where to find it. But they sent me.
Yeah.
So that was good. But like, yeah, it's just like, yeah, you're like, do I belong here? It's a weird thing, and then it's weirder when you're already like, yeah, like you're it's like you've achieved it, and you're like, all you're doing is waiting for people to be like, I hope nobody finds out I'm a fraud, even though most of the other people, same thing, right? Like,
Yeah, I've heard that from a few people. Like there's been times when I'm kind of waiting for people like, "Hey man, you're not supposed to be here." And I'm like, "You're absolutely right. I'll be going now." And just walk away. Like but so far no one's had the balls to tell me to fuck off. So, I think that's a move in the right direction, but, what the hell do I know? Yeah. I feel like there's definitely some sort of link between those two things though, right? Like you should never be comfortable, I guess so comfortable in a place where you're like, "Oh yeah, I belong here." Because then you're definitely at risk of just your entire universe imploding.
see, I'm very well. You know this about me. The only thing that's more uncomfortable is being comfortable. Like
That's true.
I go, yeah, I go places where I know I won't feel comfortable, and I stay there for long periods of time, and do that on the regular. Less now that I don't have a car, but then I just stay at home and feel uncomfortable. So it's
which is also fucking not good. But yeah, I don't know. There, like, that's the whole idea. Is I've started to pick up on times when I'm like, I feel too comfortable. There's something wrong. I shouldn't feel that way, right? Like, that is, if you feel too comfortable in a situation, that can be a red flag, I guess. You know? I don't know. When have you ever felt where you were like, "Oh, I'm not the imposter. You're the imposter."
oh, that's just any job I work that I'm overqualified for, which is most jobs, but like not the ones I attempt to get. But like, yeah, anything manual labor or with management or you know, common sense involved. Like, yeah, so I don't know. Now you're just making me an arrogant prick, but I'm okay with that.
We were both in that meeting. We both feel that way.
Yeah, but like, you know, that wasn't our first time, and
no, won't be our last
meeting.
Yeah.
It was your
I still remember, like, that was one of my, I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And
I
it was,
inspired that one. You just got pulled in.
I definitely got pulled in. But at the same time, like, I definitely wanted to burn that mother down. But I was like, you know what? I don't want to ruin this for Kyle. And I'm like, it's fine. All right.
See, but I didn't go in and ruin it for me either. So it's like,
yeah,
that was growth.
Yeah. Well, on both. On cheers to us on growth. That's we're learning how to do shit.
Douche.
A little bit. Yeah. Well, that's the weird part, is that every time I feel like that's one of the real markers, is when someone says, I know what I'm doing, don't trust that person. Or if someone says, you can trust me, definitely do not trust that person. They do not know what they're doing. But those are like my two. If I hear somebody say, you can trust me and I know what I'm doing, just be like, hey, you come get it the fuck out of there. What do you mean you know what you don't know shit? Get the fuck out of there before you kill somebody. Like, that's just immediately my reaction to someone like that. Because every time someone actually knew what they were doing, they're like, I'm not sure, but we can try. And that's just it. But like, that's something I've tried to adopt too, is like, when you feel like, there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't understand, I need more clarification. And also too, it is a great way to make your manager lose their absolute fucking shit, because they have to dumb things down. And usually you have to understand is that managers or middle managers aren't actually managing. They're just pigeons. They just carry messages from someone to you. That's all they do. So when you ask them, well, can you explain it? Because I don't really understand how that works. And they just go, well, it's very self-explanatory. I'm like, no, I didn't get it. And they just, you got to have to break it down for me. And maybe it's just too complex. Can you just break it down into simpler terms? And they get so mad because simple terms are more ambiguous. So what that means is you can forcibly misinterpret their instructions. That's why legal speak. So when a lawyer drafts something, it's meant to be ultra specific so that you can't wiggle through, because simple language is ambiguous on purpose, right? The whole idea is to be able to allow someone to critical think, because they will prove themselves, right? That's one thing that I've learned, is like, I may not be here, I may not be in the right place or where I'm supposed to be, but definitely I'm nobody else is either. So it's fine.
See, it's funny because I've never, thinking about it, like, you inspire them, but like, I've never entered a workplace and found somebody like me where it's like, oh, that's the guy who just gets shit done. I usually enter into the shit show and become the guy that gets shit done.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like weird to, like, I'm like, why have I never found that person? Clearly I work too hard. Yeah, like, it's just like, and it's like, don't, like, it's done. The problem is that managers try to manage me, and it's like, no, Just tell me what needs to be done, and it'll be done, and then you'll be fucking shocked as shit at how fantastic I am, and then you can go on your little way and take credit for all my fucking work. Just leave me the fuck alone. And most of the ones that do are great. The
Absolutely.
ones that don't have an uphill battle, and it just like then it's just butting heads, and I usually lose out. Anyways, I also supply a service of like if management protects me, I can enforce rules to others because I can be mean, and they're usually pretty stupid and lazy. So I am usually the one that they fear, and management is a joke. And then management, like they're like, I have multiple times had talking to where I went and just like into the office and shot the shit with the boss, and then came out, oh, I'm sad, and then yeah, like they're like, oh, he's getting in trouble. I'm like, they're like, don't leave laughing. I'm like, okay, you know, like, and then I got dismissed, and guess what? The place got so bad the manager quit because guess what? Nobody gave a shit what she thought.
Yeah, this is the funny part is that I was raised to follow the hierarchy, right? Like if this is your boss, respect your boss. If you don't respect the person, at least respect the office, right? That I'm like, I can work in those parameters. Except, like you said, is when someone's like, well, why are you being like that? You're like, hey man, you know I work for you, right? Like I'm on your side here. I'm not trying to fuck you up. But you're not letting me do my job. You think I'm trying to come for your job. If you think I'm trying to come for your job, maybe you're the imposter. You know, it's very peculiar that people would think that. Because I've had to tell that to so many people, Victoria included, where I'm like, hey, we are on the same team. What do you? I don't understand. What's the problem? Like I've had to say that to an alarming amount of people that have gotten uppity, and I'm like, hey, you know, we're on the same side, right? Like you're arguing with me for what? To prove me wrong? Am I doing something? Am I trying to make the company fail? No. So what are you arguing about? And they're like, you're such an asshole. And I'm like, why? We're on the same team. I don't understand why you're mad. I had a she was the area vice president start yelling at me about how aggressive I was, and I was like, I don't understand what you mean. And she's like, why are you freaking out? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then afterward, the manager goes, hey man, you need to not freak out. I'm like, you're fucked in the head, bro. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. If I go crazy, I'll kill everyone here. So what you think is crazy and what I think are crazy are not the same fucking thing, you know?
I like your speech. I need to do this speech of like, we're on the same side, but it's just me in the mirror.
So that's hilarious because I had that conversation with Victoria. Was that I'm like, your brain loves Christmas. And the reason I say that is like when you get bursts of dopamine and serotonin and you scan someone's brain, it is like Christmas lights. It's just okay. And your brain fucking loves that shit. Okay. Loves the fuck out of it. Now, the problem is that when you literally douse your brain in that shit, it is the worst possible thing for your brain because that is called addiction and shenanigans. So in actuality, you realize that you're like, yeah, your brain is not on your side. Like, because remember, you're a ghost piloting a drug addict pound of flesh that's inside a bone and meat mech that is trying to go and pay taxes. None of this shit works. Okay. Like none of that makes any sense. So
I'm trying to not pay taxes, sir.
Well, we're all trying to not pay taxes. Let's be honest. This is fair. Within the guides of the government of Canada, we do our best to make sure that we are appropriately taxed and not overpaying. That's what we meant to say.
Oh, by that I mean I never make enough money for taxes to even be a concern. That's why I'm here. Anyways.
Well, I remember the most amount of money I ever made and the most taxes I ever paid. I was the saddest, busiest, hideous year of my life. Like,
I bet you that year you paid more taxes than I've made most years.
yeah,
Than
100%.
my
I paid so much in taxes, and I was like, why the fuck am I doing that? Like, this is, and it was like, and it literally just, all of my free time was gone because where I was working, you could work up to 10 hours, 10 and a half hours overtime. So I would do 10 hours of overtime every single week. So I was, and the funny thing is, at the end of the year, when all the managers saw my end pay, they were like, "Nope, you're not allowed to do overtime anymore." I'm like, "Why not?" The only reason for me taking this job was because you guys paid overtime. They're like, "Well, you can take time in lieu," and I'm like, "I don't want time in lieu. I want overtime. I want money." And I'm like, "Because I don't trust you to give me time in lieu. Sorry, because you guys are pieces of shit. No thanks." Right?
I've worked for time in lieu before, and I fucking took it because I always make myself. That was my beauty of. It's changed since, but I always make myself pretty indispensable. But at the same time, they always you're never not dispensable. Like it's just like even that job. They're like, "Oh, we'll burn the place down because you're gone, but you'll still be gone." Like it's just like the place. So I'm just like the fact that they're stupid.
That's what you have to remember. And that whole idea of like, well, what am I going to do? And I would tell people that I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling well, so I'm going home. They're like, oh, but what about your clients? I'm like, yeah, cancel. Why? I'm not well. If they can't get that, they can go fuck off. I don't care. It's not that. No, I'm sorry. If I'm not well, I need to focus on my health. That's simple. Which, hey, it's not like I had good health. My health was shit the whole time. So, you know, it's like, oh, I need the bare minimum of care just so I don't die. And people are like, how dare you? We had an appointment. Get the fuck out of here. That's insane. But I don't know. It's one of those things. Hey.
Yeah. Where are we at? Okay.
We have time.
What
else?
I like lost track.
You're on planet Earth. You're talking with Dino about imposter syndrome.
Well, I'm not. I'm like I've been working this whole time too. Sorry.
No, hey. What? How dare you not dedicate yourself to this enterprise of fun and excitement, Kyle? How dare you?
It's amazing how little I do sometimes, and then other times I am like working 3 jobs at the same fucking like minute, like same moment. So yeah, it's
I feel like that's the other thing is that like when you have shit to do, everyone wants your time, and you're like, can you all just fuck off? I'm doing a thing right now. Just but that's not how life works. It's just never been like that.
Yeah, they're yeah. Well, it's just I'm like talking to somebody who's overseas, so it's like if I don't talk right now, I might not hear from them in a week. So it's
which is also an issue, right?
Yeah. So imposter syndrome. I don't know. We talked about most of my like. I'm sure there's others, and then just like getting. Sometimes in relationships, it's all just
Well, like, look, the idea of being loved is insane.
That's I hope to achieve it one day. We'll see. Right now, it's just an idea.
It's all. Hey, see, that's where you're wrong. It's always just an idea. It never changes. That's just. It's always just an opinion. And opinions change.
I like my love conditional on conditions I can't achieve. So
yeah.
No, go on.
No, it's one of those things where like I'm starting to really appreciate the idea where people like you never meet the same person twice. And then you're like, well, no, like you're like, yeah, but it's like you'll never have that day. You'll never have that conversation. You'll never have that state of mind of that person. Like it's always in flux.
I kind of like theoretically, I agree.
Yeah.
But like there's some people that just like are void of growth as far as I'm concerned. Do they just get more damaged?
No. But there's two sides to that, right? Because think about it is either you can't grow or you've grown all you should, right? Because remember, not everyone can be king, right? Not everyone. Like, look, there are pawns, there are knights, there are bishops, there are rooks. There are lots of roles to play, and there aren't always seats for everyone. That's just life, right? And remember, the whole idea is that, like, we were talking about this on Generation Dan yesterday. Was the idea of ownership of land and things like that's only a few hundred years old. Like, that's a new thing.
Well, the natives couldn't even conceive it. So, like,
right. So it's there's a lot of ongoing concerns in that idea, right? Because remember, especially people who were native to the Americas were people who were more focused on balance and understanding, but at the same time, they still killed each other. So you're like, hey, there are issues with every philosophy across the board, and that's what we have to figure out. Right?
That's one of those things that always. I'll keep this short and PC. That's always like silly. It's just like they act as if the Europeans like walked in here and it was just like all these peaceful natives just like in fucking heaven. I'm like, no, there's a reason it's called Six Nations, because they only joined up once like white man became a problem. But they had like nobody, like the Mohawks were aggressive and attacked everybody.
Yes.
As far as I've heard, okay, you can fight me. I don't care. I'm not. It's not my history. As far as but like, yeah, they warred too, right? Like they had problems with each other too. They had neighbors that were assholes. We just became bigger assholes. It's the same thing as like white people going buying black slaves. Well, they bought them from black people. There was black slave owners in the South. It's all like it wasn't just one race. Every race has been a slave. Like, it's just.
You said you were like, I'll keep this light and PC, and I knew you were lying both times.
No, but that is okay. Maybe it's not light, but it's PC. I'm like, they weren't just like living in heaven, and then we interrupted. Those people weren't just free in Africa. No, they were slaves there too. They just got moved. Like, it's just
even better. Listen, if you look into the history of there were tribes that were down in Texas area, okay, was the reason that there was like they cowboys were getting decimated because they could not fire on the horse because the horse would get freaked out. Number two is they most of the time had to get off the horse, okay, and also then they had to reload. It was rifle. So the 6-shooter came into play because they were saying that like these guys, these tribesmen were so versatile with their bow and arrow that they could lay off 5 to 7 arrows within 30 seconds while riding, no hands, and like you're done, bro. Like that's so you're like, listen, what happened here is actually just warfare. Is a enemy came, said, I want your stuff. And they said, we don't want to give it to you. They're like, oh, wasn't a question. We're taking it. Now, the difference was that there was an exchange for a period of time, and then everything went to shit. Now, is that good? No. Is it bad? Yes. Is the history of all of mankind? Very. That's it. It is not a one-time occurrence. It is not a new thing. What is this? I saw an equestrian doing that on Instagram for a competition. It was awesome. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So up until like it would be the 1800s, there were like cowboy shows where people would do trick shots and stuff like that, and it's like a whole thing that is gone now, right? Like,
well, I consider it's funny because like it's funny with like CrossFit, right? People like, and then it's working out, but then there's a competition aspect, like and people are like, that's dumb. I'm just like, like, what do you think rodeo is? It was like people who had a job and then they got like, who's the best at their job? And then like, that's rodeo. Like, and then like, what else is there? There's a few, there's a like it wasn't all sport. Like sport is and there's the fireman competitions,
which are with a bucket, bro.
yeah.
With a bucket and like it's not. Yeah.
No,
So
like they have those like they have to do the buildings and like, but there are teams that just do those competitions. They're not even firemen. Like it's or at least they're not active.
they're,
firemen.
they're
So
they could be volunteer or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but some of them might not even be firemen. Like there's actually because you could just enter the competition. You don't have to be a fireman. So it's insane. But like so yeah, that stuff it's just it's funny because CrossFit got shit and like sure, and then somebody just do like okay, there's reasons to shit on it, and I'm okay with some of them. One person, it was so dumb. They did this workout at like high noon, and it's all in like California, so they have the bars are out there. So then they get out there and they're like complaining about burning their hands. And then somebody's like, sports are supposed to be hard. I'm like, yeah, but nobody sets the hockey net on fire and like melts the ice, and you have to still use skate. Like there's a point. There's a reasonable expectation.
But the goalie net on fire and the ice actively melting kind of sounds awesome. Let's be honest.
You see them biff it and flying like, and then you shoot a puck and there's divots because the ice is melting. So it's just like it's gonna go wherever.
Right in the face, baby.
But that's probably of the baby in the third row at center ice somehow because
that baby earned it. It's all. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, man. But those are some of the things that I feel like people have forgotten, right? Like they don't really understand the fact that there's so much more to it. And look, remember, there's cooking competitions, burger competitions, sandwich competitions, all like, good God, 2 weeks ago, I went to a rib fest. Same thing. It's just, we have a restaurant. It's so good. We could probably take it around. Ta-da!
Yeah. And then, there's competitions of best pacing, but like that's also subjective, anyways. But
of course it is. It's how much you pay the judges.
Yeah.
Every time. Hey, if there are judges, there's bribery. Just an FYI. That's
why I want to be a judge.
Who doesn't? Are you kidding me?
Not
training my whole life.
Not for the paycheck, but for the extra paycheck. It's like being president.
Are you kidding me? There was a whole thing about the guy on the Supreme Court taking airplane rides and all sorts of stuff, and you're going, bro, it's not. Listen.
Dude, Trudeau was worth like 200,000 when he got in office. He's worth 40 million now. I'm like, yeah, or 50 million. I'm like, yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's flying it straight. Thank God he's like ruining our country. Anyways, I don't want to get too much into that, but
that's why is power corrupts. It's that simple, and that's why is if you I feel like what helps me keep my imposter syndrome in check is because no one's bribing me to do me. And I'm like, there you go. No one's bribing me to pretend to be me. And I'm like, so until that starts happening, I know I am almost there.
But no, like imposter syndrome is just like, okay, did you do anything to combat it? Have you thought of?
No.
Yeah, like it's like, well, I have the job. I don't feel like I deserve the job. I'm going to do the job and see what happens, and hope nobody figures it out. And so far, it's working. So.
the amount of stories I've heard of people who are like, I finish my work in an hour, and then I just don't know what to do. So, and I'm like, and you get paid how much? They're like, too much. I'm like, yeah, I don't. That feels weird to me. And that's why, like, I always laugh when people are like, I'm so busy. I'm like, really? Because you sent me like 19 TikToks today. I don't think you're busy. I don't think you know what busy means. That's not.
Well, it's hard to find those. But sometimes it's bad, and it's like I already like it's weird when it's just like 5 in a row, and I'm just like, damn. Dino's gonna have to watch a lot now, but it's just like I don't know why all of these are really like TikTok's For You page is on the ball today. It's just
that's like I've opened it up and I'm like 14, all Kyle. I'm like, all right, Kyle didn't sleep, cool. But then Kyle will also wake up after 3 hours of sleep and see like 15 from me, and he's like, haha, someone hasn't slept either. I'm like,
The only difference is I woke up and it was like, You're like, why are you up? I'm like, no, I'm like, I had 2 hours sleep. You're still up. And then 6 a.m. came along, and I had like 4 hours sleep by that time, and you were still up. And then,
Yeah. People get really angry when I tell them, like, I still haven't fallen asleep yesterday. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm running on nothing. And they're like, why? I'm like,
no, but both of us, like, we fast on food and we fast on sleep. Like, it's just like, well, it's weird because you had this great, crazy number of steps today, and somehow that didn't wear you out to get the sleep. So maybe you should go back to a little more walking.
I mean, maybe I should. That's not a bad idea.
Like, the fact that I got to 12 is a lot. I thought I'd be at like 8 or something. I don't know, but I don't like. Well, yeah. I already told you what my day has been, so it's
yeah, one of those things, right?
There's a lot of walking around. A lot
of. In the meantime, follow us everywhere, everybody. I'm Dean the Genetic Marvel. That's Kyle.
Please vote for me on Faces of Horror.
Yeah, if you haven't already, check out Kyle. He's terrifying. You can vote. He's on Facebook. He's sharing everything, so please check it out. And that way, he can win and take me to stardom, because that's the only purpose. It's not his happiness. He's not going to be happy either way, but I can be happy for him. Remember that, everyone.
I will feel a sense of relief briefly.
Can you imagine? Oh God, what a dick. Anyways, everyone, have a wonderful evening. And tomorrow we'll be back with Hammered and Cheese. We're making chicken parmesan. It's going to be delicious. So come check us out. You have anything to plug this week?
No, I'll be on Hammered and Cheese in the comments, making ridiculous things happen. And
hey, it adds to the flavor. All right, everyone. Have a good night.
Peace out.